The year is 2001. Movies like Monsters, Inc., The Sorcerer's Stone, and Rush Hour 2 just came out in theaters.
Slow down, baby.
Crash, the Wrath of Cortex commercial feels like a fever dream.
See what you got here. Does this hurt? Oh! Does this hurt? Oh! Does that tickle? You know what's funny? This is my chart. Sometimes it's story time.
And Jan Schiller has just created one of, if not the best, teen dramas you'll ever know. You don't know it yet, but just trust me on this. You don't get a collective 24 seasons for nothing. Degrassi is a now collection of 6 drama titles, including Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, and the one I think most people are familiar with, which is Degrassi The Next Generation, which has 14 seasons, and they're all set in Canada and filmed in Toronto. There's an upcoming 2023 HBO reboot simply titled Degrassi, and between what Degrassi has covered in previous titles already and what Euphoria does, I don't know what else there is to cover. When I thought of doing this for a video, I was just going to jump right into the madness of Degrassi The Next Generation because it's my favorite, but since it's been so long since I've seen the show, I figured I'd take a different approach. So I decided I would start at the beginning with 1987's Degrassi Junior High, because it's the same world that exists with the following titles, and the characters directly tie into some of the storylines that take place leading up to The Next Generation. But instead of creating a 2 to 3 hour video about every episode and storyline, because if I'm being real, Degrassi has a shit ton of characters, I'm just going to analyze these 13 to 50-year-old children and do a little character analysis for the ones that stood out to me. Like a 14-year-old girl getting a train ran on her, a dad not having the common decency to beat his son after his friend leaves their home, and swamp, sex, robots?
Wait, no, wait, what?
We'll get into it, because although this is a little more tame than some of the other titles, these kids are still wildin'. In typical Degrassi fashion, the show features a wide range of characters that have different motivations and storylines in the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. There's Stephanie K, who simultaneously tries too hard and not enough, depending on the situation. She's that girl who wants to be seen as grown up by any means necessary, going as far as wearing a decoy outfit to school every day so her mom doesn't know what she actually plans to wear, which may remind you of someone. She has a major boy complex which could have gotten her hurt on more than a few occasions. Then there's Arthur, who's Stephanie's younger brother, and his best friend Yik Yu, whose parents are Vietnamese immigrants who moved to Canada to escape conflict. There's also Vula, who's a girl that has a conservative father due to his upbringing in a small village. Joey Jeremiah changes like the day, from a sincere kid who cares about others' well-being to a clueless egg that imposes his will on anyone he's around, even if they aren't comfortable. Wheels and Snake are fairly normal. They're friends with Joey, and they're all bandmates for the Zit Remedy. Lucy has sticky fingers, Spike is pregnant. Lastly, there's Caitlin, Rick, LD, Thing 1 and Thing 2, Coconut Head's aunt, Melanie, Beans from Even Stevens' sister, Kathleen, Shane, and Mr. Radich. They have varying degrees of exposure and importance in the show, but each has their own moment in the spotlight at some point. To leave some room for your imagination and to save us both some time, I'm only going to look at the biggest situations that affected the individual characters the most and help shape their involvement throughout the show. So with that being said, Stephanie had a train run on her. Stephanie's character is a lot to handle. She's selfish, arrogant, and in most cases directly causes all the trouble that comes her way. In the first episode, Stephanie decides she wants to run for student council president so she can have more control over activities and events during the school year, and has her best friend Vula help her on speeches in her campaign.
I'd like to be president, but I can't write speeches or make posters or any of that stuff. I can do all of that. I can be your executive assistant.
But when she starts feeling the pressure to give people what they want,
we want more input into the curriculum to control our fate as students.
she resorts to petty tactics.
Joey! Hey, I want some of that too.
So the boys take this opportunity to propose a kiss for their vote.
If I get a kiss, I'll vote for you, Steph. Promise.
Okay, so long as you promise.
All right.
Now me and Vula are seeing nothing but red flags, but Stephanie agrees like germs don't exist, and Will starts the train with multiple boys, one after the other, taking turns kissing her. Do you know how insane that is? I mean, she wins the election because of this, but she's still for the streets. This incessant need to be grown up is the foundation of her character and consequently her issues. She wants to dress more maturely, as she puts it, since she's in the 8th grade now.
What are you doing? This is grade 8, right? We're supposed to be more mature. So I'm gonna start dressing more mature.
She wants to drink liquor because that's what grown-ups do.
Got drunk?
Yeah. Haven't you ever been drunk before?
Yeah, of course. Lots of times.
And while we're on that,
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
she wants to have sex because that's what grown-ups do.
Sex is no big deal.
Are you serious?
Look, I'm not a little kid anymore. I'm 14. Anyway, I like him.
And she wants to get involved with a grown-ass man that could have taken advantage of her because that's what... Sorry. But she lies about her age and tells this popular author she likes she's 16, which isn't any better than 14, but whatever.
Do you think he'll kiss her? If he does, we'll never hear the end of it.
What's your name?
Stephanie,
How old are you, Stephanie?
I'm 16.
Despite everybody telling her she shouldn't talk to him, she goes anyway.
Isn't it kind of dumb going out with some strange man? Don't know anything about him.
Sure we do. We watch him on TV all the time, don't we?
And isn't he kind of old for you?
He makes a move,
I want to go home now.
Come on, Stephanie. You know what this is all about.
Hey! Hey!
Stay away from me, I'll scream! Stay away from me!
and then he leaves her stranded when she tells him she's 14.
I'm not really 16. I'm 14 years old.
And I told all my friends I was going out with you. So you better not touch me!
She ruins her friendship with Vula.
You can have your stupid bracelet. You're just a baby. A selfish baby.
Kills her chances with Wills.
I'll never be able to face Wills again.
And contemplates leaving the Earth, if you know what I mean. Towards the end of the first season, she promises to be different and start dressing as she had before, but that was because the whole school wanted to jump her ass for being a terrible student council president.
We have got the worst dress school president in the whole country.
I don't think she's a very good school president.
And she never talks to grade 7s. And what about sports rep? Ever since Jason Cox left, she hasn't even bothered to replace him.
All it took was a new kid to transfer to the school, and now she's on demon time again, harassing the girl she gave her old clothes to, telling her to give them back.
Simon invited me to a movie. Isn't that exciting?
Alexa, you know those clothes I lent you? I want them back.
I think it's crazy she would want the clothes that another girl has on her body at this very moment back. She tells the girl Alexa the new kid Simon only has interest in her because of the clothes she's wearing, and to give them back because she would look better in them. It's ironic because she thinks the only reason Simon isn't into her is because of those same clothes.
It's the clothes. I know it's the clothes.
What?
She also goes through a phase of wanting to game end herself. I got very irritated watching this because that should never be taken lightly. And the reason she wants to do it is because her mom has a new boyfriend she's been seeing for a little while, so she's been going out with him more on the weekends, leaving less time for her to spend with Stephanie. And also Steph's dad, who she says she doesn't get along with, wants to gain custody of both her and her brother Arthur.
Talks to me anymore. I can't wait till they break up.
Does your mom know how you feel?
Are you kidding? Meanwhile, my dad, who I don't even get along with, is trying to get custody of me.
Teens can be overly dramatic sometimes, so it's not out of the ordinary, but the show makes it seem like her reasoning should be taken in the same way as if she had a mental illness. The best thing for her to do is to just talk with her mom about how she feels, and from what I've seen from her, she's a sensible person.
I think we should talk.
About what?
Stephanie, I don't know.
I'm fine, okay? We don't need to talk.
The odd thing about this whole thing is it goes absolutely nowhere. There's a scene where her mom's boyfriend comes over and Steph just starts barking at the man.
It's okay, I understand.
Stephanie, don't be rude.
It's always Jerry this, Jerry that.
You're so selfish. I can't believe it.
Look who's talking.
Well, I'm not the one getting married, am I? I'm not the one making everything change.
And Arthur storms out of the house because he's tired of the fighting. So Steph follows after him.
I'll find him.
No, you don't. He's my brother. I'll find him.
But you don't even talk to the kid at school. Are you serious? Anyway, they have a heart-to-heart conversation and it just ends there. There's no resolution with the boyfriend or the game-ending thoughts. It's just kind of brushed over. She's an extremely divisive character who was kind of given the main character treatment for a while, but that was short-lived because she isn't in season 3 because she transferred to a private school, which really just means the actress had other opportunities she wanted to try. Vula's role is also short-lived because she's only in the first season and her character arc is fairly small. Aside from making passive-aggressive comments to Stephanie while they're in the bathroom, Vula's character mostly dealt with the overprotective parent trope, which might remind you of someone. Her dad is from a small village, so he has a different perspective on what should be acceptable for a child to do. Vula has an idea about starting a fundraiser to sponsor a foster child that will be done at the upcoming school dance. But of course, he has a problem with it because school dances are the devil, I guess.
School is the devil? Everything is the devil to you, mama!
I don't know. It's crazy because overbearing parents that suffocate their children out of fear or past mistakes usually create the sneakiest kids. We've seen it in Stranger Things when the kids were banned from going out after daylight hours. We've seen it in Coco when he was playing guitar behind his parents' backs. And even in Avatar: The Last Airbender when Toph became the champion of an underground earthbending arena.
The boulder feels conflicted about fighting a young blind girl.
Sounds to me like you're scared, Boulder.
The boulder's over his conflicted feelings, and now he's ready to bury you in a rock-a-lanche.
Whenever you're ready, the pebble.
So Vula lies to his ass and tells him she's going to a meeting at school. Vula decides she's going to change at Lucy's house and go to the dance from there. By this point, her and Stephanie aren't even friends anymore, but she has the same idea to meet up at Lucy's. Vula, why are you just staring at her? Hit her ass with a falcon punch! So Vula goes to the dance and loses track of time because she was having fun, and her dad comes investigating because it's late and finds out she lied to him. Nothing really happened from that, but it is what it is, I guess. All he does is scold her a little bit, and she apologizes and says she knows it was wrong, but she just wanted to have fun with her friends.
You lied, Vula. That cannot change.
I'm sorry, Papa. I know it was wrong.
After this, Vula's character moves away, so she doesn't go to Degrassi anymore. This dude is weird. I got multiple headaches trying to figure out what type of person he wanted to be. He's bullying kids 2 days out the week. He's actually a good person who's empathetic to others, the next two, but then the last 3 are him begging any girl within reach to please spare some coochie. Like, this man is truly unhinged. He tricked Arthur to get into a broom closet on his first day, gets fired after 3 days of working, flunks his 8th grade year, and straight up asks a girl who simply invited him to her home to study if she wants to do it.
Joey, what is it?
Liz, do you want to do it?
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Sir, please! You are embarrassing me! Joey, you for real need your ass.
Get off!
Never mind. Joey's mouth gets him in trouble a lot. He doesn't think much about it because usually he can talk his way out because the people around him are very impressionable. It's safe to say it started at home with his parents because it's said throughout the show they don't ever discipline him. He was getting by with this attitude until a very round kid named Dwayne tells him he wants to fight him. Dwayne is sick of Joey's shit, so he tells him to meet him after school so he can teach him a lesson. And I'm not talking about algebra. Joey thinks he can finesse the situation by leaving out of the back door of the school, but Dwayne's goons are standing outside waiting for him. Rumors are spreading about the fight that's going to happen, so now everyone's talking about attending. He can't escape, so he tells Raditch he wants some extra tutoring, hoping it'll all go away. I was a little surprised because he looked like he was just going to straight up tell Raditch about the fight to avoid getting hurt, but he doesn't and actually decides it's best if he just faced it head on. Long story short, Joey tries his best, but he still gets hit with a fatality. I can't say he necessarily deserved to be beat up, but he can get a little overbearing at times. Despite that, he does have a couple redeeming moments. When he sees his classmate's dad give him a two-piece, he actually feels bad and tries to help. Which leads me to my next character. The first time we see Rick, his dad puts the pause on him because he bought a magazine with his own money. Of course, I can sympathize and relate to the reality of not having a ton of disposable income, but you can't be serious. It honestly surprises me just how normal of a person Rick is, because he could be so much worse. Usually the kid that's mistreated at home turns out to be a bully because they're angry, but they don't know how to release it because your parents are the ones who are supposed to protect you. So when they're the ones causing you harm, it's an extremely hard situation to detach from because, you know, family's all you got, right? Rick's mom isn't around. His brother, who he has respect for, lives on his own, and the kids at school all think he's dangerous and make up rumors about him because he comes to school with bruises on his face. And yet he still tries to go to school and do well. He's all in with trying to help his friends, and he's generous. He won $100 from the lottery and passed out licorice to as many kids as he knew.
I'm rich. I won $100 in the lottery.
He's just trying to be a normal kid, so when Joey sees Rick's dad hit him, he feels like he has to do something to help, although he doesn't really know Rick all that well. Joey tips off a school worker about someone he knows who's being abused at home and would like some advice. This leads CPS to investigate into Joey's home life, but because Joey and Rick decided to stop by Joey's place so he could give Rick some money he owes him, the investigator was able to see Rick as the one who actually needs help. Rick is then sent to live with his brother, which in turn makes him smile for the first time in the whole show. He had people who cared about him and just wanted to see him happy. Caitlin even made herself look a little silly trying to make him happy.
Oink, 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 oink.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Caitlin is the sweetheart of the show. She's just a nice person, and I actually enjoyed her character, even though she does catch some hate for basically treating people like charity cases. At least that's what the people on the show say. I personally thought she's just trying to help people who actually needed it, but I could be wrong. She goes through a period where she thinks she might be a lesbian because rumors are going around the school that their teacher, Miss Avery, was seeing a woman, and she was having dreams about her at the time. She gets all nervous and tense around her friends because she's scared they'll hate her if she is, and their comments about Avery don't make it any better. Tension builds as Caitlin keeps her feelings inside, and she feels like she can't speak about her problems to anyone. She's feeling particularly closed off, so when Miss Avery touches her on the shoulder in class, she tells her to back the fuck up.
Don't touch me.
Avery contemplates hitting her with an uppercut, but settles on talking to her after class. Caitlin opens up to her and they talk it out, and we never find out if either of them actually likes girls or not, but it's hinted that Avery is involved with Raditch, and Caitlin builds up a crush on Rick. Caitlin and Rick have a little arc where they get closer. Rick tries to help her with an environmental efforts, and they decide to get the news outlet involved to help. Their relationship was okay, but it doesn't really go anywhere because Rick just disappears between seasons, which is actually pretty common seeing as it happened with Stephanie, Vula, and now Rick. She starts liking Joey at some point, even though she knows he flunked a grade because opposites attract. She even listens to his trash-ass mixtape. You know how much you gotta like somebody to tell them their music is fire when it's not? They start talking to each other more for a class project, and he pumps her head up about how smart and perfect she is, which is only making it worse, because he's an airhead and he doesn't know she likes him, and he still likes another girl named Liz. A school dance is coming up and he tells her he'll save her a dance, and of course she thinks this all but confirms he wants her goodies, but nope. Don't hurt her, Joey. Please, don't hurt her. He did it.
Caitlin, hi. Have you seen Liz?
I think she's in the gym.
Dynamite, see you around.
I thought we were gonna dance.
Yeah, sure. Later, okay?
Joey gets another chance though. BOT bets Joey $20 and... Oh, I'm sorry. Where are my manners? He's black. That's really it. Oh, and he dates Michelle. So BOT bets Joey $20 he can't get a date by Friday because he knows girls don't like him. So Joey goes around begging for attention again and finally lands on Caitlin after exhausting his options, even though they haven't talked since that dance situation. Caitlin actually agrees to go out with him, unaware of the bet he made, and I'm sure you know where this is going. They go out, BOT gives Joey the money, but Caitlin sees. Boom. Joey gets drenched with soda. Look at this man's face. Caitlin leaves and Joey follows her and he says it wasn't about the money, even though it was, and rips up the 20. They sort of make up, but it doesn't go any further than them just being friendly with each other because Degrassi Junior High ends a few episodes later and Degrassi High follows. Caitlin also has an episode that talks about her life living with epilepsy and everybody loses their shit. Her dad acts like he would prefer her to put on a straitjacket and keep her in a padded room so she doesn't trigger an episode, and these kids threw me when they were talking about it.
Kathleen, I don't believe you.
It's true. Caitlin has epilepsy. She's rolling around on the floor and foaming at the mouth. It was really gross.
Is epilepsy contagious?
I wouldn't share a pop bottle with her, that's for sure. It's not catching Kathleen.
Out of all the illnesses or diseases that are or were thought to be spreadable in the world, epilepsy is not one of them. Leave it to Kathleen to be at the forefront of controversy. Kayla wants to be seen as normal, so she decides she can just go without taking her medication. That is, until she has a seizure while at a sleepover with her friends. I have a family member who dealt with seizures for a while, and they aren't something you can overcome with just willpower alone. After that scare, she decides to start taking her medication, but she is still hesitant to take it when people are around. It's a step in the right direction, but it's still sad to see her be ashamed of something like that. However, later on, she does get more comfortable with herself as time goes on. But yeah, Kayla was cool to me. She didn't have any weird hang-ups like some of the other people. I'm just going to combine these two because they're always on screen together and a majority of their storylines involve the other person. They don't do much and most of their involvement isn't noteworthy. They mostly represent two young and horny teens who are just trying to survive middle school. Arthur is Stephanie K's brother, as I've said before, but she disowns him when they're at school because he's a weenie. Also, not really. It's because she's trying to maintain an image that dictates she can't talk to or associate with anybody who's in the 7th grade. Yik-Yu is Arthur's best friend who comes from Vietnamese immigrant parents. We never see them and their background doesn't do much for the plot, but it does come up sometimes when they discuss his culture or hardships his family overcame to move to a better country. And let me tell you, when I say these kids are horny, I mean it. One day Arthur tells Yik he's been having dreams of the wet variety and he doesn't know how to handle it. This leads Yik to recommend Arthur to a phone line radio show where a woman gives advice for various types of questions people have. They're feeling awkward about it, but the woman assures them what they're experiencing is natural and they have nothing to worry about. They seem fairly normal, right? He's a young boy who'll be experiencing puberty soon and girls are becoming more interesting to him, so that makes sense. What is this, huh?
Swamp sex robots. I hear it's so hot, it'll fry your eyeballs.
Huh?
My mom's this weekend. Doesn't she have a VCR? I don't know if it's fixed yet. You gotta find out. You want to see this, don't you?
You want to do what? I rest my case. Get these two sexual deviants out of my courtroom. What's a teen drama without a pregnant girl, though? That's why we have Spike. And I actually really enjoyed her character. If you've seen Degrassi The Next Generation, then you've probably seen it. Right there in the first episode.
Em, your room's a disaster. I thought you were gonna clean it up. I will. And turn off that computer.
I was just showing Manny your reunion website.
I always knew she'd make it big. How's that for a hairdo? Could I have been any cooler?
Yeah.
She's Emma's mom. She gets knocked up by Shane at a school party and deals with the stereotypical pregnant girl woes because Shane is a weenie. He's a deadbeat and I hate him. Spike had a baby on the way and Shane can't tell his parents about it because his dad is a minister and constantly tells him he's so glad he didn't turn out like those other kids who ruined their lives for petty fun. Although he can't decide what to do in the situation, this doesn't stop him from constantly asking questions and giving his opinion on what Spike should do. He doesn't want her to put it up for adoption, but he also doesn't make it much of an effort to help out with various expenses. At one time, Spike was contemplating the other A word, but Shane was strongly against that. Despite having a lot to say about Spike's decisions, he never gets serious about his own. Spike goes to a meeting for pregnant teens and the instructor gives them eggs to take care of for a week to simulate taking care of a child. The kids at school decide to call it Egbert. I personally don't see the correlation because although an egg is fragile and you have to be relatively careful about handling it, it still doesn't need to be fed, changed, bathed, or basically anything else that's required for any baby. But I digress. Spike argues with Shane that he doesn't care about the baby and he can't be bothered to help, so she hands over Egbert to him to see if he is taking their situation seriously. Of course he doesn't, because it's just an egg and he's a weenie. So when Lucy tells everyone she's having a party, Snake and Shane get into an argument because in Spike's eyes, Egbert is a simulation of a real baby, so Shane has to go through all the necessary effort, like finding a babysitter, to be able to afford the privilege of going to a party. Shane feels because it is an egg, he can just take it with him and the problem is instantly solved. This only makes matters worse because to Spike, it is about the principle of the thing. She wants to know Shane would not just leave when things get hard and reject responsibility when his baby is born. So Shane goes to the party with Egbert in hand, and Spike is furious. To make matters worse, the other kids take the opportunity to start playing hot potato with it. Shane looks at Spike, look at him, who looks at Spike, after he makes a stupid decision to join in tossing Egbert around, and Spike takes off. They get into yet another argument where Spike throws the egg on the ground and says,
You say you want to help until it becomes inconvenient. I can't trust you.
Spike.
You don't want to help. You just want to stop feeling guilty.
Now you see why Liz and I don't like him. Liz is a transfer student who doesn't really get along with the other kids because they're preppy. She's kind of like Zoe from Bully. She hits it off with Spike though. We were all thinking it. So Liz is the girl Joey liked but ruined his chances with, but that's mostly it for her. She's just a good friend of Spike, and when Shane tries to pull a fast one on her by withholding child support money to go to a concert, she tails on his ass. Shane ends up going to the concert anyway, takes LSD, and ends up in a coma until he wakes up in the last episodes of the final season. And Spike gets kicked out of school and has to finish the rest of her year at home because a few parents thought she might set a bad example for the other kids. Lucy is one of those kids who suffers from absentee parents who work too much. She has a nice house, friends, and boys like her, but she has sticky fingers and throws multiple parties behind her parents' backs because they aren't around. There are a few times in the show where her parents call and tell her to just eat without them because their flight was late or they'll be working late that evening. She's hit hard by that, so she tries to reason with her friends to stay at her place longer or to hang out more because she doesn't want to be alone, and I can sympathize with that.
Come on, try something else.
No, I'd better go. It's getting late.
Vula, you can stay for supper if you want. My mom will be back soon. She's a gourmet cook. She takes classes and stuff.
She goes through instrumental parentification, which is essentially her having to take care of herself and the household while her parents are constantly away. A plethora of shows and movies like Naruto, Sex Education, and What's Eating Gilbert Grape are just some examples that show parentification and how it affects kids differently. She also got groped by a substitute teacher named Kobe, and honestly, he sounds like he wants to put kids in a van.
Help each other. Don't be so tense. Relax. You need a friend, Lucy.
He tries to touch all on Lucy, and Wills comes in and helps her so she can escape. She runs home looking for her parents, but they aren't home. Luckily, Lucy's friend LD comes over to check on her so she isn't alone, and she cries to her. She has nightmares about that after, and was hesitant to report him until he tried it again on another student, and she builds up the courage to do so after that. Kobe stopped subbing conveniently as the kids were going to report him because he was sick.
You hear? It's terrible. Mr. Colby's gone.
What? I heard from Doris. He called in sick. They're getting another substitute. Talk about depressing.
Lucy gets another boyfriend later that's 2 years older than her, and I just don't get it.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the... No, 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 no.
Anyway, the kid blows it because he tries to get Lucy to sleep with him, but she decides she isn't ready for that yet. Instead of being a normal person and saying, okay, that's fine, we have time, we don't have to rush things, he makes her feel crazy so she never wants to see him again. Although her version of never seeing him again means she dates his best friend later, so I'm a little lost about that one. Wheels has a sad story. He started out very casually being the first boy at Stephanie's train, but then over time more about him is revealed. He's best friends with Joey and they're in a band called the Zit Remedy, right? But they only know one song the whole show. He struggles with his grades throughout the show, having a period where he's in danger of failing for the year, but there was nothing out of the ordinary at first. He's linked with Stephanie for a bit as they try to build up a relationship, but each time it's led to failure. The first time was the school dance, where Stephanie spent the entire time in the bathroom throwing up that chocolate milk she drank, and the second was an abomination of a situation. Wills and Steph let outside influences tell them they should have sex with each other to let the other know how they feel about them. This leads Wills to ask his dad about the act and children, but he straight up ignores his advice and goes to buy condoms anyway. The kicker is he goes to the same pharmacy Steph's mom works at. She doesn't know who Wills is yet, and Wills doesn't know he just fucked up, but she gives him some info about abstinence and sends him on his way. This is like a little triangle of madness, because when Wills is trying to take Stephanie out, Arthur and Yick are trying to watch their little adult movie, and Stephanie's mom has a date at the same time. So Wills shows up just as Steph's mom's date is arriving, and she looks at Wills and says,
Hey yo, what the fuck?
And the whole spot blows up.
Goodbye, swamp sex robots.
Steph comes downstairs in her hoochie mama clothes, her mom flips, and Wills is sent home with an L. After that, they just decide they're better off as friends because clearly the universe doesn't want y'all together. In a separate episode, we find out Wills is adopted when his biological dad comes to see him looking like he lures kids in a van with candy, and he tries to reestablish himself a little bit. Make amends, you know? He's nice to him and he explains he's too young to be a parent back then and he would like to be in contact with him. Everything's all right up until...
Oh, Derek. I'm sorry. Your mother and father, they're dead.
No.
They're dead.
Wills finds out his adoptive parents that have raised him have died in a car accident at the hands of a drunk driver. He spirals into depression and gets so angry he smacks Joey up because he blames him for occupying his time with the band, keeping him from being with his parents, and stops coming to school altogether. He starts feeling like no one cares for him, so he decides to go see his real dad, who doesn't know his adoptive parents have died. Will starts hitchhiking to meet up with his dad and almost gets violated.
What are you doing? Relax. It doesn't hurt, does it? Come on. You got strong legs.
Get away from me!
He finds his dad in a neighboring town thinking he'll finally be accepted and embraced, only to find out his dad has a baby on the way with his girlfriend who doesn't want Wills around because they barely have enough money to take care of themselves. His grandmother, who he's been living with, begins asking his friends if they know where he is because she's worried about him. Joey breaks and tells her where he is, and she drives there hoping to bring him back. When she gets there, an argument breaks out because the grandmother thinks the dad is trying to take Wills away from them, even though realistically he never planned to be all that active in his life to begin with. Will storms out again with a renewed feeling of not having a home to go to anymore. His grandmother starts crying because she just wants to show him she loves him, and I'll say, this scene kinda got to me. Wills comes to his senses, they hug it out, and in the end, he goes back to Degrassi and tries to be better. Unfortunately, Neil Hope, the actor, passed away in 2007. How do I say this? Kathleen is annoying. She's that girl that reminds the teacher about the homework they forgot to collect. She literally wrote an article for the Degrassi newspaper on why they should have a dress code and pushed for it heavily. Whenever there's a rumor going around school, she's the one that has something ignorant to say. When Miss Avery was thought to be a lesbian, she was pushing heavy about it as if she knew personally it was true. When Kaylin had a seizure at that sleepover, Kathleen was the one who said she wouldn't share a drink with her because she didn't want to catch what she has. She's pissed me off on so many times and in so many different ways. She becomes a student council vice president, and her friend Melanie tells her she's interested in being on the dance committee so she can meet new people. Kathleen leads her on like she'll put in a good word for her, but then during lunch, Melanie overhears Kathleen talking to the student council president about committees and hears her say,
People in grade 8 who feel they should be on this committee, but I think they're way too immature. I think we should restrict it to 9th graders only.
Yeah.
I personally prefer 9th graders anyway.
Okay.
Nepotism is one thing, but not even considering the person you call a friend for the position while shading their character because 8th graders are too immature will get you kicked out of my T-Mobile Fave 5 instantly. Melanie does something better and pours her Bordens all over her head. I would be happy to hate her character if it ended there. You've made ignorant comments about everybody's situation and you insult your friend's character, but there is another side to her. We find out Kathleen's mom is a severe alcoholic who is so out of it she doesn't keep her promises to Kathleen or even pay attention to her needs, and her father is never home because he's working. This awful dynamic has a lot to do with how she interacts with others, and leads to a perfectionist personality because she wants to do something that would make her parents proud and notice her for once. I can relate to this a little. I spent so much time revising, rewriting, and re-recording this script because of that same feeling. I psych myself out because I think my voice sounds annoying, so other people probably think the same thing. So I do it over and over until I've burned myself out mentally, stressing over what I can't control. Kathleen wasn't happy when she was only able to win the vice president student council spot, and she stressed herself out completely with Melanie's and her science fair project. She was very adamant about all the smaller details of the project and even yelled at Melanie for trying to correct a mistake by using whiteout. That isn't all, however. Kathleen also deals with an eating disorder. She develops bulimia, which involves an obsessive desire to lose weight with periods of overeating followed by self-induced vomiting or fasting. Melanie notices she hasn't seen Kathleen eating lately and later notices her binging on cookies while working on their science fair project together. Kathleen keeps a journal where she writes down her goal to eat only 300 calories a day because she believes she's too fat. Melanie finds this journal and confronts Kathleen about this, and in my opinion, the way she abruptly blurts out that she has a problem usually elicits a visceral defensive response in people for similar situations, which is what Kathleen gives her. Eating disorders are a serious issue that need to be handled with care and professional assistance. From that point on, Kathleen refuses to talk about her disorder, and it isn't until the day of the science fair that this issue comes to a head. The girls are presenting their project, and here we see Kathleen's perfectionist side come out again, blocking Melanie from saying a single word about their project, which keeps Melanie from adding in important information Kathleen forgot to say. The two end up just missing third place with a runner-up spot, and Kathleen storms out and says she just wanted her parents to be proud of her. She doesn't make it far, however, because soon after she gets to the hallway, she collapses from the effects of her eating disorder. Melanie and Miss Avery manage to find her and get her help. And even though Melanie helped Kathleen in her time of need, this has the opposite effect on their friendship, as Kathleen claims,
You're just jealous because I have willpower and I can stay on a diet. Leave me alone. Kathleen?
and they don't talk for a while. The storyline ends on a high note, however, because a while later, Kathleen rekindles her friendship with Melanie and tells her she is now seeing a counselor to help better deal with her problems. Although Kathleen has loads of negative traits, I can't help but feel bad for her. Degrassi has like 20 characters, so I'm just going to rapid fire some of these other ones. Dee is a good person, but her dad doesn't think she's girly enough and she should care about her appearances more. She also has a deep fear of hospitals due to bad memories, having dealt with the death of her mom as a child. The twins Erica and Heather suffer from twin problems like people confusing one for the other, and they get mono from kissing a boy. Melanie has cone titties where she gets a new bra, buys drugs from Joey but they were really vitamins so she gets finesse out of $5, and gets caught up at the movie theater when she agrees to go on a date with Yick but then lies to him so she can go with Snake. Snake is a friend of Joey and Will's and is in their band, and his older brother is gay. Alexa dates Simon and asks him stupid questions about her weight, then she gets mad he doesn't know how to answer. Michelle likes BLT, her parents are racist but she doesn't care so she dates him anyway, and Mr. Radich is a teacher. That's all. All in all, Degrassi Junior High was pretty fun. Although it's not as dramatic as the later titles, I can appreciate it for what it is. It's the foundation of one of the greatest show titles ever in my opinion. I remember being introduced to Degrassi when I was younger and loved it. It was something very satisfying seeing tons of drama unfold and characters change over time. It was a learning experience for me to always remain empathetic. I plan on rewatching it again soon to see if it still has that same magic to me, but I do appreciate the wild times I had watching it many years ago. Sharks in the Water by Vivi Brown from the season 10 Carnival trailer lives in my head rent-free to this day. Degrassi covers so many different topics people experience, and I think most people can find someone who they see a little of themselves in if you look hard enough. It's gritty at times, but it isn't far from the truth. The things some of these kids deal with in these shows are dramatized for television, obviously, but at the core of these scenes are real-life issues some people deal with every day. If you or someone you know deals with some of the things I've mentioned in this video, I'll also include some major crisis hotline numbers in the description if it can be of some use. Thank you for watching.